When my mom divorced my stepdad, we had to move out of the house I grew up in and into some income-based housing in the city. This was during the summer before my first year of college, and I worked at a nearby gas station to make money to take with me to school. I had worked there in high school too, and it was a roughish part of town, and there was a lot of low-income/homeless people cashing in their change for beer. I think this made me a little unfazed of sketchy people. During the first week after moving in, I went to make myself some SpaghettiOs for lunch, but realized we didn't have a can opener since we had moved. I figured one of my neighbors might let me borrow one, and left my apartment to find out. Toward the front of my building, there was a dude sitting on his patio in a lawn chair drinking a beer. I greeted him, told him that I had just moved in, and asked if I could borrow a can opener. He seemed really friendly, if sketchy, and excited to help, but he also kept making weird comments about a son he had that was my age, and how cute we would be together. He insisted I meet his son, and tried to get me to come inside to meet him, and to get me the can opener, of course. I was naive, not stupid, but I really wanted my food, so I agreed to wait at the door and say hello while he grabbed the can opener for me. It was kind of weird, but I met his kid, borrowed the can opener, and life went on. Except now they knew me. I had to walk by their apartment to get into mine, and they were always sitting out there, drinking, smoking, and yelling, and they often greeted me. I was polite, but not warm to them. We knew each other. One day, my boyfriend at the time and I had bought a bunch of groceries to make dinner. Everything was in paper grocery bags, so my boyfriend put them in a box that he had in his trunk to get everything in one trip. As we got out of the car, I heard my sketchy acquaintances yelling, but they did that often, and when I glanced, I noticed there was a young child riding a bike in the road in front of their place. I assumed he was yelling at the kid to get out of the road, and paid no attention. As my boyfriend Tyler and I crossed the parking lot and started walking towards my apartment, suddenly the dude came running at us. He was yelling about us coming into his turf and paying tribute. I didn't even notice the knife until he held it to Tyler's face. He seemed to think that we owed him money, and he was pissed about our groceries for some reason. He kept threatening to cut us and send a message. Luckily, Tyler was super level-headed and just kept talking calmly to him. Tyler kept explaining, "It's just groceries, man. We don't want any trouble. I don't know what you're talking about." The guy was just getting more and more angry at this, and he kept getting louder and gesturing with his knife to make his point. Tyler was holding the box with both hands, so he couldn't defend himself. I was completely frozen and sure that I was going to die. In all, this probably went on for 3 to 5 minutes, but it seemed like forever. Finally, another neighbor came out on his porch and yelled at the guy, "Cut that shit out, man. I got kids and shit. Those are kids, man. Chill the fuck out." The guy did not put his knife down, but the yelling between them did call out the guy's kids. They ran out and grabbed him and pulled him back into the house. They shouted at us, "Get away from him!" Gladly. And they didn't want any trouble, and their dad didn't mean anything. Meanwhile, he is fighting them to come and stab us, and yelling about how he is going to get us, and we better have his money. As soon as the knife was a safe distance from Tyler's chest and stomach area, we ran to my apartment and immediately called my mom, who called the police and rushed home from work. The police came and took statements. Apparently this guy had a record of dealing drugs and other crimes. They told us that maybe the guy thought we were selling on his turf. Box full of groceries equal meth supplies. Anyway, they arrested him. My mom was outside our house talking to the cops when they pulled this guy out of his house. His kids were screaming and following the cops, and they all saw my mom. The kids started screaming at her, telling her that she was a fucking uppity cunt, and threatening to beat the shit out of her. My mom doesn't take crap from anyone, so she was very classily yelling back that she would kill any motherfucker that threatened her kid, and calling them white trash junkie welfare rats. The cops were trying to intervene and disperse everyone to their apartments. As they pulled the guy away towards the cop car, he screamed at my mom, "I'm going to have my people pay you a visit real soon. You think you're tough? Let's see you kill those motherfuckers I send through that window for you and your little girl. Sleep tight, bitch. They're coming for you. I know people." And they put him in the cop car, and everything was quiet. Tyler went home, and we didn't see each other very many times after that. I later learned he was involved in some sketchy stuff, so maybe they did know each other, or have a beef somehow. I'm still thankful for the way he handled everything, though. We got a restraining order, and never saw the family again, which is pretty weird considering how close we all lived. I was really freaked out for about a month or so, worried that people were going to break into our house and rape and kill us. Then one day he came into my work while I was on the counter. My coworkers knew about the incident, so when I told them, "That's him," they let me go hide. I thought he had come for me, but he just bought beer and cigarettes. As he left, I moved, and he saw me, but he didn't know who I was. He didn't recognize me at all. I'm not sure he even remembered the near stabbing. It was surprisingly comforting. I went off to college, and the family was evicted for too many police responses in the area. He later went to jail for unrelated charges. Before I get into narrating this story, I wanted to make a quick note. This is a story I've actually been sitting on for a few months. It got submitted a while ago, but it gets pretty gruesome, and it's a little out there, so I wasn't quite sure how people would respond, or if I should technically call it true, even though it could be, it's just really far out there. I don't know, this is just one of those stories. Either way, I figured I'd show true transparency, and give you a little insight on my end. Hope you enjoy it regardless. I'm a 17-year-old male, and this happened to me a few days ago, whilst I was home alone. I live virtually in the middle of absolutely nowhere, with the nearest neighbor and police station being around half an hour away from me, as my parents decided to soak up the country air and atmosphere, which could be enjoyed. My house is 3 stories high, and my bedroom is the top right window if you were looking at my house from the front, and my garden leads into a set of woods, which is about 10 miles long. To get to the woods, I would have to go into my garden and walk for around 5 minutes, and from there I would have to hop a little fence, and then I'd be in. And to be honest, when it's dark, that set of woods really creeps me out. My parents and younger brother were on holiday in Corsica to soak up the sun and go sightseeing, as Corsica has some beautiful views and a lovely atmosphere. I couldn't go, as I was working every day, so that I could earn an extra $1 or $2. I had cooked some spaghetti and meatballs, which Mom left me the day before, and all was going well. The bass was booming, and the house was in good form. I had a couple of beers, and ate my dinner. The thing that was weird was that I couldn't shake off this feeling of being watched, which I can't say I had experienced before. I brushed it off as paranoia, as it was dark, since it was around 11 p.m. However, this feeling stayed with me, and it would not leave me. Eventually, I turned off the speakers and all of the downstairs lights. I locked all the doors and windows and made my way to bed, and browsed Reddit and Spotify for about an hour. The house was silent as I was surfing the web, which was expected. That was when I heard something or someone walking into my drive. My drive is made from gravel, so I could easily hear the footsteps. However, they sounded as if they were trying not to be heard, as they were slow and light steps. I could just look out my window and see who it is. However, I did not want to alert them that someone was home, so I kept my cool and waited it out. I nearly pissed myself when I heard the large window being tapped on, very, very slowly, and my adrenaline started to kick in as the knocking slowly turned to rapid banging. What the fuck? I remember saying to myself in a shaky voice. Who in the world would be banging on my lounge window at 12:30 a.m.? Plus, I lived in the middle of nowhere, which really had me on edge. That was when I heard glass shatter, and my heart raced and my eyes widened. Someone was in my fucking house, and I was not going to have them kill me or abduct me. I sprinted to the French doors in my parents' room, opened them and lunged myself out of them, which was about 20 feet high. Thankfully, I wasn't hurt, but I didn't care. The adrenaline was pumping like it was going out of fashion. I made a beeline for the tree line in the woods, hopping the small fence with absolute ease. I hid behind the tree line, and I saw my kitchen light flick on. Shit. I was so petrified, but I needed to calm down. But I couldn't. What if they found me? What if they caught me and tortured me? This isn't happening, I remember spitting out. After I said that, I saw the silhouette of a man in my kitchen, rummaging through the drawers and cupboards. Whilst I was watching him, I realized I had no phone service. That's what happens when you live in a remote area. But then, what I heard freaked me out. I heard twigs snap behind me, and I flicked my head back like a catapult, and there was another man dressed in all black with a balaclava covering his face. It was a lure. They lured me outside to get me. I bolted into the woods, as this man was not far behind me. But then, he rugby tackled me to the ground. I can easily say he was 6'5" and at least 240 pounds, as I couldn't move at all. He was so heavy. "What's going on?" I shouted in disarray. He gestured and pointed to my house. "That," he said in a low and monotone voice, as he pulled out what looked like a Swiss Army knife. "My colleague is taking care of your house," he said sadistically, as he started to slowly laugh. I thought it was the end of me. I was shouting and trying my best to move, but to no avail. I had to do something. He was watching the house whilst pinning me down, but my right hand was still able to move a tad. I grabbed the nearest stick subtly and rammed it into his eye socket. Survival mode kicked in as I jammed it deeper and deeper, and his scream was piercing through the woods, as I showed no mercy on this beefy son of a bitch. He eventually lost his grip, and I put his head on the floor and pressed the stick more into his eye. Blood was spraying left and right, but I didn't care, as I had to survive and not get killed. It was either him or me, and it was not going to be me. Whilst doing this, the Lords must have been watching over me, as I somehow got phone service. I called the cops, and they said they would be 20 minutes. 20 goddamn minutes of waiting for the cops. I got the Swiss Army knife the guy had, and plunged it into his foot with all my might, and then bolted into the woods, as I could hear a loud scream from the man I had just stabbed. I decided to run around the woods, and back to the side of the house, so that I could potentially see this man in my house without him seeing me. I went around, and I could see the man from before that I stabbed, still in the same spot, not moving. That made me feel easier, as now 15 minutes had passed by. I could hear extremely faint sirens in the distance. I saw the other guy in my house, but he didn't see me, so I subtly went into the bushes opposite my house, and I could see him calling to the other guy that I had stabbed. "Pete, you there? We need to fucking go. Now," he shouted again. Pete did not respond. He exited the house with the black bags and sprinted down the road. The police arrived, armed and ready to fire, with their guns pointed at the burglar. They arrested him and found the other guy dead. It was closed in self-defense, and I wasn't charged for anything. The guy got put into the police car, and as he did, he stared right at me and said, "You're lucky I didn't slit your pretty little throat," as the cops told him to stay silent. He kept staring though. It was now 1:30 a.m., and I was taken to the police station to write a statement. My parents were informed and cut their holiday short, and were super apologetic for leaving me alone. And the next day, my dad bought a .44 Magnum and a Remington shotgun. We moved out of that house 3 months later. I have never been so scared in my life, and it's amazing what the human body can do under immense stress, pressure, and adrenaline. I honestly thought I was going to die, and had to think irrationally in order to survive. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. If you would like a chance to have your story featured in an upcoming video, make sure you email it to yourmaker6260@gmail.com. I kind of said that all jacked up. Yourmaker6260@gmail.com. I'm probably not even going to edit that part. Why not just leave it in? What? I hope you all had a great weekend, and I appreciate you checking this video out. And let me know your thoughts on the second story. As I said, it did kind of get out there, and parts of it did seem almost unrealistic, but it might have been the way it was worded. Like when he said he was immediately told that it was self-defense or whatever. Maybe he just meant that was something he learned later on. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt in a lot of stories, because you honestly never know what happens. This world is a freaking crazy place. I mean, we got people eating each other all the time. Like, okay, maybe that's not weird in some cultures, but where I'm at, it's weird. I don't know, we think eating bugs is weird, but we'll eat chemically processed food, so who knows what's what anymore. I figured you guys might enjoy it. It's not all the time I put in these gruesome stories like that, so there's something a little different for you. Either way, hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you in the next video. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true. And there was another man dressed in black with a baklava. And there was another man dressed in black with a baklava. And there was another man dressed in black with a balaclava. With a balaclava.